So Santa Barbara is home to hundreds of shipwrecks, but probably one of the most amazing is also one of the least known. On September 8th, 1923, a ship called the Cuba is heading up from Panama, heading to San Francisco. It's a passenger cargo ship, and it runs aground on San Miguel Island. You can see some of the artifacts from that shipwreck right here, the ship's bell and the ship's safe. Now, by coincidence, that same day, 14 brand new Navy destroyers, none of them more than 5 years old, are heading down from San Francisco to their home base in San Diego. They all know that the Cuba has sunk on San Miguel Island. Now, they're trying to set a speed record because they want to be the fastest squadron to go from San Francisco to San Diego. And so to do that, they want to cut into our channel. But they don't want to go too far down and turn too late into our channel and hit San Miguel like the Cuba did. They're also using brand new navigation technology, radio navigation, and there's a navigation station at Point Arguello. So they're getting readings telling them they're on a direct course for Point Arguello. But Donald Hunter, the commanding officer of the flagship, the Delphi, and the acting navigator, doesn't trust this new technology. And he was considered one of the best navigators in the Navy at the time. So what he trusts is dead reckoning, counting how many times the propeller turns, figuring out your speed and distance from that. And he thinks he's in the middle of the channel. Now, Captain Watson, the squadron leader, wants to set that record. They're in a long line, about 200 to 250 yards apart, and as soon as they turn, they hit heavy fog, dangerous waters, and within 5 minutes of turning, the lead ship Delphi runs aground doing 20 knots. Now, again, they think they've hit San Miguel Island because that was their big fear. So the only message the Delphi gets off to the other 13 destroyers before they lose power is turn hard left to get them into the channel. But really, these ships had no time to turn, and within 5 minutes, 6 other destroyers are completely wrecked on the rocks there at what we know as Honda Point. 2 others hit rocks but are able to back off, and then the rest have no damage somehow. This is considered the largest naval disaster during peacetime in U.S. history, and a great quandary for the U.S. Navy. To think about it, 1908, we send the Great White Fleet around the world to show our naval superiority. World War I, the United States becomes an emerging world power, and then 5 years after that, we destroy 7 of our greatest ships. 23 lives were lost, only 17 bodies were found. To this day, considered the largest naval disaster during peacetime. Not the largest loss of life, but the most ships lost at one time. And the Navy didn't know what to do with this. They brought everybody in front of a board of inquiry, all the commanding officers. When the navigator, the Delphi, who wasn't the acting navigator, Hunter had taken over that role, started testifying. They made him a defendant as well. They ended up sending everybody for a court-martial and finding 3 people guilty. Watson, the squadron leader, Hunter, the commanding officer, the Delphi, and the acting navigator, and then the commanding officer of the 5th ship, because he was admitted under oath that he was listening to that radio navigation signals and didn't act on that information, they found him guilty too. What's interesting, and to tell you how embarrassing this was for the Navy always wants 2 things from a ship if it's wrecked: the ship's log and the ship's bell. Years later, a woman had the bell from the Lee, which was the 2nd ship to crash in this disaster, and she wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Navy. Says, "I have the bell from the Lee from the Honda disaster. I'd be happy to return that to you." And the Secretary of the Navy wrote her back and said, "No, thank you. You keep it. We don't want to touch it." The one humorous thing from this was that when it happened at 9 o'clock at night, they were scrambling onto the rocks, dark, very jagged rocks out there getting cut up, but they think they're out on San Miguel Island, which is basically uninhabited at this time. And it wasn't until about 10:30 at night, when about 100 feet away are the train tracks, and the train came by, and that's the first they realized they were on the mainland. There was a flyover right after that happened, so there's amazing film of the ships on the rocks there. We were able to interview the last living survivor of this shipwreck before he passed away. He was only 16 when it happened. And we interviewed a telegraph operator out of San Francisco who got the first message about this, which was, "The squadron is in trouble." Talk about an understatement.